Hello everyone, welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. NBC News reports that House Democrats attempted to pass a resolution on Thursday to halt President Donald Trump's ongoing war with Iran. This effort came in direct response to Trump's recent shocking threat to annihilate a whole civilization unless Iran reopened the Strait of Hormuz. During a routine pro forma session, the Republican lawmaker presiding gavelled out without allowing a vote by unanimous consent, effectively blocking the resolution. Outside the Capitol, Democrats condemned Trump's rhetoric, which included vows to strike civilian targets and blast Iran back to the Stone Age. They urged Speaker Mike Johnson to recall the House for a war powers vote, a request Johnson has reportedly ignored. Congressional Democrats, joined by some conservatives, are also calling for Vice President J.D. Vance and the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment, citing Trump's unhinged and unwell behavior. Although Trump subsequently announced a 2-week ceasefire facilitated by Pakistan, he warned of renewed and intensified attacks if no real agreement is reached. Senate Democrats are preparing a more serious push for their own war powers resolution next week. Al Jazeera reports that the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has issued a stern warning about a potential inflation crisis, citing the ongoing U.S.-Israel war on Iran as a significant factor darkening the global economic outlook. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva stated that the fund would downgrade its global growth forecast next week, emphasizing that the conflict, which began on February 28th, has fundamentally altered previous optimistic projections. The war has led to a surge in oil and natural gas prices, widespread damage to energy infrastructure, and disruptions to crucial fertilizer shipments, collectively eroding business and consumer confidence worldwide. Georgieva urged member countries to enhance economic resilience as increased defense spending adds pressure on the global economy. She also expressed optimism for U.S. congressional approval of a 50% increase in IMF quota lending resources, which would bolster the fund's $1 trillion lending capacity. An IMF report indicated that countries embroiled in conflict typically experience output declines of about 3% at the outset, escalating to cumulative losses of approximately 7% within 5 years. However, the report also suggested that the U.S. economy might mitigate significant losses from increased war spending due to the absence of physical destruction on its own soil. Amid this backdrop, central banks, including the U.S. Federal Reserve and the Bank of Mexico, face pressure to control inflation, especially as the U.S. job market shows signs of stalling. According to NHK News, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and his North Korean counterpart Choi Sun-hui have agreed to strengthen bilateral relations. The agreement was reached during a meeting in Pyongyang, where Wang Yi highlighted a pact made by Chinese President Xi Jinping and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at their summit in Beijing last September. China's foreign ministry stated that Minister Wang conveyed China's desire to maintain momentum in developing ties through enhanced strategic communication, exchanges, and closer cooperation. In response, North Korea's minister Choi confirmed Pyongyang's intention to further bolster relations with Beijing, adhering to the leaders' agreement. Choi also reportedly affirmed North Korea's unwavering support for China on issues Beijing considers its core interests, including Taiwan and the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, explicitly backing the One China principle and opposing interference in China's internal affairs. Lebanon is stepping up diplomatic efforts to ensure its inclusion in a U.S. Iran ceasefire mediated by Pakistan, as reported by UPI. This comes after recent large-scale Israeli airstrikes on Beirut and other Lebanese areas, which killed over 303 people and injured more than 1,150. Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam and President Joseph Aoun emphasized that Lebanon must be part of any ceasefire and insisted on direct negotiations, rejecting Iran's offer to negotiate on their behalf. Initially, Israel rejected Lebanon's inclusion, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later announced that his cabinet would begin ceasefire and Hezbollah disarmament talks with Lebanon. Iran, in turn, warned it would withdraw from the temporary ceasefire if Israeli attacks on Lebanon continued. Meanwhile, Lebanon has filed an urgent complaint with the UN Security Council and called for strengthening state authority in Beirut to restrict weapons to legitimate forces, a clear reference to Hezbollah. UPI reports that Argentina's Chamber of Deputies has approved a controversial reform to the Glacier Law, effectively loosening environmental protections and opening previously restricted glacial and periglacial zones to mining and hydrocarbon activities. The reform, which passed the Senate earlier and was promoted by President Javier Milei's ruling La Libertad Avanza party, received 137 votes in favor, 111 against, and 3 abstentions. The previous 2010 law was among the most restrictive in the region, broadly protecting these strategic freshwater reserves. The new policy introduces selective glacier protection based on specific technical studies, gives greater authority to provincial governments in defining protected areas, and reduces the binding nature of the National Glacier Inventory. Environmental organizations like Greenpeace and the Argentine Association of Environmental Lawyers have announced plans to file a joint lawsuit, warning that the changes jeopardize water access and ecosystems. Opposition lawmakers also expressed concerns about interjurisdictional conflicts and the risk to drinking water sources for millions of Argentines. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.